This will be a great wrestling podcast, and you can believe in that.
I knew he was going to do it. I knew.
This is OT3.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to OT3, episode 24. My name's Anthony, of course, and of course I got my awesome co-host and producer, Paul. How you doing tonight, Paul?
I am doing great.
All right, and of course, as usual, our other co-host is here, my co-host, Matt. Matt, what's going on tonight?
Brother Anthony, Brother Paul, Brother Justin, I knew you'd come.
Oh. And he has to start every episode with that. And with that being said, we want to say special thanks to our special guest here today, Justin. Justin, how you doing tonight, man? Thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me on the show. I am doing great tonight.
Excellent.
Welcome, Brother
just
Justin.
As you can hear in the background, all three of us, I know, are very excited to see Goldberg's return tonight on Monday Night Raw. And we paid a little homage there with his song playing in the background for the first time in over a decade that we'll see him. So we will get right into Goldberg. And you know what? I'm going to come to you first, Justin, on it. I know you weren't, avidly watching wrestling for the last, 10 plus years. You've been more watching it more recently, you'd say, right? In the last 2 to 3 years again, you got more into it again?
It's been off and on. I probably, over the past 10 years, watched for about 4, took 3 off, and I'm back on it now for the past 2. Yeah, probably.
So how big of a deal to you as a fan is this to see Goldberg return right now after over 10 years?
Well, to me, Goldberg he's probably my favorite wrestler. He's actually the first wrestler that I saw when I turned on Raw for the first time. And, he's just an absolute monster, and I'm excited to see him come back. And hopefully they're going to do something with him instead of keep him around for just one match or do something stupid tonight.
Absolutely. And Matt, what about you? What do you think about Goldberg's return tonight? What do you feel?
You both know how I feel. This is awesome. I mean, back in the day, I was WCW, WWE back in the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars. I was big on Goldberg, man. When I went to pay-per-views, I always had I was probably in my elementary school. I had the Who's Next sign. I was big on Goldberg, big on the street. I was one of the people that I was watching when he beat Hogan for the title, and it just, you went crazy because that's when Hogan was the heel. Unfortunately, during the Invasion storyline, all those contract issues they had, he didn't come over. But when he finally appeared in WWE over a decade ago, it was awesome. Have him come down and go right after The Rock. He speared The Rock. Then he feuded with Evolution. We finally got to see him in WWE. I think it was just at the wrong time, unfortunately, when he did come. But I think it's great to have him back. Obviously, the last match he had against Brock at that WrestleMania wasn't the best. Fans weren't into it, mostly because they both knew these guys were leaving right after this match. Everyone mostly cheered when Stone Cold did the stunner on both of them. But I think this is going to be big for wrestling. I think a lot of fans, I think they miss Goldberg. He's been in the news a lot lately, especially with the 2K that came out. That was awesome. I got excited for that because I knew what happens whenever you're in 2K. We saw with Sting. It was only a matter of time before Sting appeared. And I believe it was SummerSlam, actually, when Sting appeared the year
Survivor
he was on 2K.
Series.
So I'm sorry, Survivor Series. And when's Goldberg supposed to come back? Survivor Series. So they're almost doing it the same way they did with Sting. I'm ready for it. And I agree with Justin. I hope it's not a one and done. I hope, like Sting, he's around for a while.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. Now, speaking of that, you came up with a huge point, and a lot of people, don't really realize that with the whole Invasion storyline, when that went on, everyone's like, oh, well, WWE really, didn't do too well with that, bringing the WCW guys in. But people don't realize that a lot of those WCW guys, especially the main eventers, like, the Hogans, the Nash, the Halls, Goldbergs, they had, other than like Booker T and Jericho, they came over before WCW was bought out, like Jericho especially. They had huge guaranteed contracts that they didn't have to perform. So they just sat at home for a year and were still getting paid a crazy amount of money to do nothing, So that's why you didn't see these guys come in when they did. But think about what could have happened if those guys did show up day one. The match you would have saw with Goldberg being on, Team Alliance against Team WWE, or one of those guys being there. So like you said, I hope, and like both of you said to your point, I hope they do more with him. Obviously, his match guaranteed is going to be against Brock Lesnar. It's a matter of when. They're saying it's going to be Survivor Series. I've heard maybe they hold it to the Rumble. If he does have his match at Survivor Series, let's hope it's not only it's going to more than likely be the main event, but let's hope it's not the only one. If he does stick around for more than one match, what's a match you see maybe them putting him in other than against Lesnar? We'll start with Matt this time.
Wow, that's hard. You really put me on the spot there because most people wanted to see the Lesnar rematch. We could see Goldberg win the second match in the faction or in this rematch, the faction, not Goldberg, Lesnar. Maybe we could see a part three. They may want to do that. I personally, I'm trying to think of the younger talent that he could go with. And I don't know why I'm gonna think of this guy. It's probably because you all gonna think I'm a fan of him. But why not Roman? The battle of the spears. Let's see who's got the better spear, who can take the spear better. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be an interesting fight. But there's really it's so hard to think who you want Goldberg to see. Do you want to see him feud with Triple H again? Does he come in the picture and try to help Seth Rollins against Triple H and Kevin Owens? I mean, there's so many ways Goldberg can go here. But I think for right now, it's probably just gonna be Brock, and we'll probably see a trilogy out of these two. Justin, on to you now.
I'm going to come around and say because he's showing up on Raw that I don't think it will come to a feud, but something to just kind of legitimize Goldberg. Not that he's already great in his own right, but to go up against Lesnar after all these years, and now that Lesnar is the UFC superstar. We got Braun Strowman's coming talking about all this competition that he wants to have. I can see something happening, that he's going to come in and do something with Braun Strowman. He'll give him that competition, give Goldberg his match to not be rusty anymore. And especially that he's coming back to Raw just kind of sets that up perfect because he's the only really big guy that I think would put a big threat to Goldberg beside Roman, like you said, just because he was such a monster. There's just not really many people that would, to his legacy, he'd be able to stand up with toe-to-toe in the ring today.
Yeah, and I think to his point right there, I think that him and Strowman would actually be a very interesting match to see take place on Raw, like he said, as a tune-up. And also giving Strowman a very credible performer, and a wrestler to have a match against instead of these jobbers that he has week in and week out. Oh, I'm sorry. He had Sin Cara. Let me not say jobbers every week, but again, lack thereof. So, yeah, I mean, excited level, I think, to see Goldberg and Lesnar at Survivor Series is huge. Heyman's promo last week really got everyone interested in it again. I think a lot of people were wondering what it was. Most people were kind of like, it's going to be him to call out Goldberg. But I don't think that, I mean, me personally, I did not expect that Goldberg was going to answer as soon as, all right, I'll be there Monday.
Oh, he
like
tweeted right after it happened.
That's what I'm saying. Right after it happened, he said, I'll be at Raw. I don't think that was ever something I thought would happen. I thought it would be maybe a couple weeks and then Goldberg would show up maybe after Lesnar was there again. But hey, tonight on Raw, we get to see it. So I'm very excited to see it. And actually, that's a reason why we started a little earlier tonight, because I know that was something we definitely want to make sure we're tuning in at 8 o'clock tonight to make sure we could see Goldberg.
We're talking about returns. Spoiler alert, it's all over the internet. Mickie James has re-signed with WWE. Now, we won't go into detail what she's doing now and what's going to happen, but it's all over the internet. She is now back with the World Wrestling Federation. She's back with the WWE now, so Mickie James is also making her return to WWE as well as Goldberg. So we're having a couple of returns here for that couple months.
I don't know if you read today. I know it's not as big of a a name as them. Yeah, the Boogeyman supposedly is not. His agent told like people in the Indies that were trying to sign him that he has indeed signed a new deal with WWE. So I'm wondering to see what kind of facet they'll use him, whether it be on SmackDown or on Raw. And then they also, I know we talked about it last week. I'm not as happy about it, but they said that right now they're trying to get Carlito for Raw and Chuck Palumbo on SmackDown. Again, I'm not really a big fan of Chuck Palumbo's work, but I think Carlito would be a lot of help to his brother and cousin, the Shining Stars, to at least give them that extra edge, because right now they're, it's not that they're bad in the ring. They can wrestle, but their gimmick, to me, is just not really getting over for me.
Yeah.
So
and, speaking of Raw, I think that's a great transition to our Raw preview. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think we definitely should.
So, speaking of Raw preview, did anyone see what Big E just tweeted?
Yes,
that they've been champs for 420 days and they're in Denver tonight.
Oh man, you gotta love Big E, man. I mean, as much as we talk about that team, being the champs for this long, and listen, the New Day are still good, but I feel like it's run its course, and I feel like Big E should be elevated to the main event. I've said this many a times. I think Big E is as a big star that they could use, and we've talked about it before, Matt. And I don't know if you know this, Justin, but at one point it was between Roman and Big E to be the next top guy, and they went with Roman because they felt like Big E wasn't ready yet. But they said with everything that Roman was going through with the suspension that they were rethinking it, and that Big E could now get that spot again. So that would be something really interesting to me to see Big E be in that spot. But I definitely think, regardless, he should be in the main event picture. Um, Kofi has always been in the mid card, upper mid card, even with that feud against Randy Orton, which was great, 5+ years back. But my thing is, where does Xavier go from there? Because he kind of is the only one really that never really stood on his own
Can
yet in
Xavier compete in the
WWE.
cruiserweight? Does he have that?
I think
Does he
he
have
could
that
because
weight
you have to be. It's
capability?
under 205 or 210 pounds, right?
They keep on increasing it to, make more and
They're
more.
trying to
Now
make
they
room for more people. Yeah.
increase it more now, so where Neville and Sami Zayn can. So
Well,
here's the thing with Sami Zayn and Neville.
Neville's under 200. He's like
Yeah,
190.
yeah. So you had Neville, which I think is perfect for him, but you had someone who just beat the world champion a couple pay-per-views ago, and now you just basically demoted him to cruiserweight. I mean, what do you two think about Sami Zayn in the cruiserweight? Do you think he is better than that, or do you think this is a perfect spot for him for right now?
I personally don't think he belongs in the cruiserweight division. Since they brought him up from NXT, and even when he was in NXT, I just feel like they've had him on a big losing streak until recently. With this past week, maybe it was 2 weeks that he's won a match. They put him with Neville. I think they're maybe doing it just to keep him and Neville as a tag team, maybe. But I don't think he belongs in the cruiserweight division, and I think he should move up. Whether I want to say, personally, I think he's kind of like a glorified jobber because he loses every match. But I don't think he belongs in the cruiserweight division. I think he's too big of a guy and doesn't do enough high flyer moves to be a cruiserweight.
Well, he
Um,
does high flyer moves, but the last time he's done them 2 weeks in a row, he's hurt his ankle apparently.
yeah. I don't think it's. Here's the thing. I don't think the cruiserweight's a step down. Like when you think about it, as opposed to that, obviously the heavyweight champions with the #1 gold or the universal title in this picture. My thing is, and I've said this from day one, I don't understand what their plan is with Sami Zayn. I don't think he should be on Raw. I think he should be on SmackDown because they don't know how to. They're not using him properly. Like you just said, they have him lose every match he's in, and then he had that match against Owens. It was supposed to be their last match. 3 weeks later, Owens and Zayn again is happening on Raw. Like you couldn't just let Zayn have that win and just move on. I don't like what they're doing with that. I wouldn't, like I said, I don't say it's a step down. I think the cruiserweight division is one of the, fresh things and one of the best things going on Raw, especially because I'll tell you this, and I tell you guys this every time. I think SmackDown's hands and knees is better than Monday Night Raw, even with the extra hour. But I don't know what they're doing with him. I think that he's underutilized. The same thing with Cesaro on Raw. I think that Zayn should be in bigger, You don't need to be in a title picture. They could just have him in a feud with someone for more than a month, and they could trade matches. But it's like he has that feud with Jericho. Jericho's like, he's my best friend now. You're upset you don't have his number, which it was great. The back and forth between the two of them. Jericho beats him, and that's the end of it. We haven't seen anything since. Zayn should have won the rematch. They could have had a third match. That could have at least given him something more than nothing. I mean, you haven't really seen him. I mean, he's been on TV, but he doesn't really have a storyline right now. So I don't know. But Neville, again, another guy. He came back from that injury. You thought he was coming, and he hasn't been on TV in what, 2-3 weeks?
Just
So
about,
it's just
yeah.
they're just dropping the ball on some of these guys from NXT that. I mean, when I went to NXT, those were some of the guys that really got me interested in going and Justin can attest to that. Me and him were going 3 or 4 months in a row. A couple of us were going, and we were seeing matches with Neville, Zayn. Obviously Finn is up now, obviously injured. Kevin Owens, to name a few, and others. Dillinger, but Finn and Neville and Zayn were there before any of them really were there. So it's a shame to see that the both of them are not really getting the push over here on the main roster. And it's not because they're not good in the ring and it's not translating well. It's just because they're just not being used properly.
Yep, definitely agree with that. Um, Hopefully we'll see what happens. There's rumor that the Survivor Series, Raw versus SmackDown, where the winning brand gets to take 3 guys. Maybe that's something Sami Zayn needs is to go to SmackDown. Hopefully, I really hope something like that happens for him because I think he would benefit, especially from an Intercontinental Championship feud. I mean, I'd love to see him and The Miz go at it, or maybe, I would love to see a Sami versus AJ match. That'd be a great match.
Yeah. Speaking of that, obviously we'll talk more about that next week when we get a better understanding if that's going to happen, because it should be answered tonight on Raw if those matches get agreed to, and then if it's going to be that true. Because like you said, they're supposed to be that they each get 3 superstars from the opposite brand to take to theirs and a bragging rights trophy. So will they make it to where it's one diva, one superstar, and then one tag team? Like they restrict it so that you can't take, for instance, if you were to be SmackDown and you say one of my picks is a New Day and you get 3 guys, is it going to be that it's 3 individual people or that a tag team counts as one? So that'll be interesting to see how they break that down. Um, and it would be a kind of cool concept, I think, too, if anything, if maybe they do whichever match they win, instead of just doing 3 goes to the winning team, say Raw wins the Divas one, Raw gets to take a Diva, then SmackDown wins a tag team, and then SmackDown gets to take a tag team and just a main event. It'd be cool if they do it like that, but it'll be interesting to see how they break it down, if they do just the main matches for it, or if they do like a best of 3 out of the 3 matches, and then the winner takes all 3, if that does end up happening. So I'm definitely interested to see how that shakes out tonight on Raw with the 2 of them. And then obviously now with this new team, since we just talked about tag teams a little bit, Cesaro and Sheamus are now going to get their, title match. Hell in a Cell, I know it's still 2 weeks away, a little under. But do you guys take Cesaro and Sheamus to credible team, or do you think this is just a
No.
match to get the New Day over the hump?
No, I think this was a horrible decision. I think it was just something they had to do because who else were they going to have a title match with? Roman and Rusev are locked in the feud, which seems like forever. Certainly those 2 aren't going to get put in the world title picture because you have Owens and Rollins. I mean, I feel like this is just when they started the best of 7, they're like, all right, maybe we can do this, and then as soon as it progressed, they're like, what can we do with these 2? And then probably a last minute decision. Oh, hey, let's put them in a tag team and let's just let them do that, because if they're the ones to beat the New Day, that's ridiculous. When you've had people like the Club, Enzo and Cass, all the other great tag teams that are right now up there, and then you just put a team together a little less than a month ago, and they're the ones to beat the New Day. What does that say about the New Day as well? I think it's a horrible decision. Justin, what are your thoughts on it?
I think they're going to be trying to do, again, one of those WWE slapstick decisions that they do where they throw the strange bedfellows in together and make them successful, kind of like what they did with The Rock and Mankind back in the day. If they give these guys the titles, I'm not too sure because they're 2 of their bigger superstars. I do think it's time for the New Day to come to an end. I think the titles should have went to Gallows and Anderson, though, but now I feel like they've made them look like a joke, and they're trying to find a way to recover because they have their other tag teams wrapped up in something in their plans, but to us, the viewers, I think we're confused about what's going on with some of the other tag teams. I don't think they're effectively being used as their teams. And this title match is just, like you said, it's kind of ridiculous. It doesn't make sense for them to team up and take the tag titles.
Yeah, I really agree with him because at Raw, you really don't think, if you think about it, they lost the Dudleys, because their contracts expired, and everyone was like, oh, you know what, the Dudleys, but they also, I mean, not to say Golden Truth's be in a title picture, but that was the first time I saw them on Raw in like 2 months the other day. And they're not even being used really, I mean, they have other tag teams, the Shining Stars, like we've already talked about, Enzo and Cass, Gallows and Anderson, who I 100% agree should have been the new tag team champions. I think they really dropped the ball there. These guys were huge in New Japan. They came over hot, with that first feud with the Usos, and then they kind of just went stagnant. They, and I really don't understand they had them have those. What they have 2 matches against them, and they had them lose both. The first one was because of Big E, coming back after having ring postitis, and then the second one they had them lose. But I just don't understand where they're going with the tag team picture, and I really think it's just so that the New Day can win, and the New Day's gonna have way over the reign because Survivor Series now, if they win it, Hell in a Cell, they're not going to have a title defense at Survivor Series because they're going to be in the 5-on-5 tag team match, the 5 tag teams versus 5 tag team elimination, SmackDown versus Raw. So I just don't know who they would have next, and if it's going to end up being that the Shining Stars are going to win the tag titles, I mean, when you could have already given it to Gallows and Anderson, I'm not really a big fan of that idea, but I just
Now,
don't
do you
know
have the
what the
Shining
plan
Stars
is.
with Kalito and do the little Freebird thing with them as well and put the tag titles
Well,
up?
that's what I'm saying. Is
tag?
If Carlito's going to return too, is that something you think about again? This way, at least that can help better the storyline because you could kind of say, hey, you know what? No 2-person team could ever beat them, but now they're even in the odds by having a third person. They're kind of like the New Day, and that's the way you finally have them defeated. Something of that nature, I could see that happening. That would actually be a good concept, like you said, to add a third person to the team. So we'll see how that plays out, but I just don't understand the Cesaro and Sheamus pairing. They were supposed to have a title match. They had it, and then instead of getting like even an United States title match or being put in a triple threat for the world title, they're like, oh no, you 2 are going to team up, and it's like, come on, guys, you got to do better than that. Cesaro and Sheamus Sheamus was just the world champion, a little less than a year, not even a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now he can't even get put in a match higher than a tag team title match. So I don't know where they're going with that. but we shall see on Cesaro and Sheamus. The other thing to talk about, obviously, is we're talking about Raw. The Divas, Sasha and Charlotte was announced last week for the first time ever will compete in a Hell in a Cell match. How do you guys feel about that being in Hell in a Cell for the
Well,
first time ever for the
first off,
title?
Charlotte came out and said she wants to do her moonsault off the top of the cell, and Vince was like, "Nah, not even." I don't think. I think she said moonsault off top. No, no, no. Goodbye. Have a nice day. There's no
Yeah.
way I would ever have a freaking diva, let alone the only person I would trust to do a moonsault off the top of the cell would probably be Jeff Hardy, and he would have to do the whisper of the
No,
wind.
I would never trust anyone,
I
to be
would
honest with
trust
you, to
Jeff.
do a
Justin, would you
moonsault.
trust Jeff?
Not a moonsault, man, because you're with your back to this. So you take one, you step your foot off too fast, you're back. At least if you're going forward, you can kind of see where you're going. If you're backwards to it, man, I mean, that's a big, and there's
Jeff
no,
would take
it's
the
not like
risk.
Into the ring, maybe you take a shot.
Well, that's what
But
I mean. Yeah.
out into the,
No.
you know what I mean, to the where the announce tables are and all that. It's a really risky move. Not to mention if they overjump it and they land in the crowd somehow. I mean, there's a
I-
lot of
I gotta look
variables.
this move up. This move sounds pretty ridiculous.
I don't like the match, to be honest with you. I think it'll be cool for Hell in a Cell, but really, how physical are they going to let these women be? Are we going to see them throw each other into the cell? Or we going to see them spill out outside the cell? I mean, the Hell in a Cell is supposed to be the Devil's playground, Undertaker's home, destruction. I mean, you think Hell in a Cell, you think Mick Foley thrown off the top. You think Mick Foley through the cage. You think Shane McMahon WrestleMania. You think Rikishi getting chokeslammed into a
Hay,
truck full of
the truck full of hay. Yeah.
hay or stuff, whatever it was. I mean, that's what you think. You think Edge going choke slam and fire coming out. I mean, that's what you think. And no offense to this Diva Revolution, I don't think they could live up to the expectation because they're just probably going to have a normal match inside the ring, and I don't see the cage becoming involved with them because I hate to say it, you don't really see divas, doing any type of cage match or anything like that. So I mean, I think it's cool to be the first one. I'm probably gonna get a lot of criticism for this from diva fans out there. I just don't think it's the right time to do it, especially in the PG area. I think this would be great in an Attitude Era because I think they could, go all out. I just can't see them doing some of the things that men would do in that cage. Justin?
I agree with what you're saying. I think it's very cool that they are going to be in the cage. How violent the match will be, which that's what the cage is known for, or the cell rather, is known for the violence of it. And I don't think they're going to let the women bleed like the men do. And Sasha and Charlotte, they put on a heck of a match. They do fantastic matches. But again, the other issue that I have is more just the fact that I'd like to see some other people get into the picture instead of focusing on just Charlotte and Sasha. So, I mean, I think it's great that they picked those two. A lot of people now saying that Charlotte's probably the greatest women's wrestler of all time, and they're going to put her into the cell in the first one. I think that's a good decision, but I think it's just time to move forward with these two into another enemy for the title match.
Yeah. I agree with some of your points. Like I said, I think if you're going to pick the two that you're going to pick, you're picking the two biggest stars in the women's division right now, arguably. So that's why they're doing it. But it is going to be definitely a tough match, to be put in. And I don't think that they'll have the same kind of move sets that you see some of the guys doing in the matches. And it's nothing against them because they're some of the best athletes on the roster, not just the Divas roster, just roster in general. But it's just a different kind of match, like you said, and there's no like where can they go? They're starting from here, and then people will be like, all right, that's how we can learn for the next one, where we can go next to try and change it and make it our kind of match. So I'm interested to see how the match will play out, but definitely cool to see for the first time ever that they're going to have a women's title match inside the cell.
Yep. I think it's a good time speaking of big titles, I think it's a good time to transition to Rollins and Owens, and hopefully this will culminate the end of the feud. My big question for you two is, last week they said he was at Raw, he didn't show up or anything. Does Triple H get involved at Hell in the Cell? Anthony, Justin, open the floor to you two. Does he get involved?
In the cell match?
Yes.
No.
No. Justin?
I'd like to agree. I think he doesn't get involved in the cell match. He will be at the event, maybe be at ringside to cheer on his boy Kevin Owens, but I don't think he's getting involved in the match.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna disagree. I think he does because they're all talking about the Rollins Triple H match for Survivor Series, and what better way to have it happen than Triple H eventually? What, you don't think that's gonna happen anymore?
No, not if you have Lesnar and Goldberg. There's no need to stack the card like that.
All right. Well, I
Yeah,
still
because
think
then you're gonna go from that, and then you're gonna go to a Raw exclusive pay-per-view with what? You're gonna put Lesnar and Goldberg, Triple H and Seth Rollins, and then a 5-on-5 SmackDown versus Raw, 5 tag teams versus 5 tag teams, and then 5 divas versus 5 divas. I just think that you put way too much on that card. Sounds great. WrestleMania, yeah, I would do that kind of card, but I think that match is going to be either held for the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania because they gotta try and stagger it. Because if Lesnar has this match at Survivor Series, and then I think that they'll use that match to be the big marquee match at Rumble because Lesnar probably won't be at the Rumble now if he fights at Survivor Series.
okay. Well, okay. Well, I can see your point that I still see Triple H getting involved somehow, some way in the next couple of weeks. And you know what? Pretty soon or sooner or later, Rollins, you're seeing on these house shows, he's slowly transitioning to the face that now it seems like he's gonna be the face of Raw now. I mean, he's slowly getting there. Eventually, with Triple H, his problems that we have with Roman and everything, do we see maybe a Survivor Series since the brands will be together? Maybe the title won't be on the line, and you see some kind of, Jarrett. Well, never mind. They're saying Jarrett goes to leave. Do you see any kind of thing where we see the Shield getting back together to take on the Authority once again?
I think you might see like the Shield for a second. I don't think it's going to be like that. The three
Are
of
they gonna
them.
be buddy buddy? Is the question.
No, I think it'll be one of those things where it's a common enemy and they do like the triple power bomb or something like that, and then they go back their separate ways. It all depends too. Like I said, if Raw ends up winning the 3 picks, I think you could definitely see them taking Ambrose and then them trying to do something down the road again. But I think that they'll leave it as the 3 of them on their own, and just like a common like, hey, if I got you if I need to, but we ain't cool. The Roman and Dean, they've made it pretty clear, are not going to be cool with Seth. I don't see them doing it as soon as Survivor Series. So, when you say Triple H's involvement too, Matt, what exactly you think it's like he'll get in the cell, you think, or you think like he'll cost, how do you see that panning out?
I think he gets in the cell. I think he gets in that cell somehow, and I think he's going to do something to Seth, and we're going to see him go away again. Maybe until Survivor Series or something like that. We'll see him go away once again, but I think somehow, some way, he's going to cost Seth Rollins this match. And then that's going to be it for Rollins in the title picture because it's going to be 2 pay-per-views in a row that he lost. So I think someone else will end up taking over, maybe for Survivor Series or something. But I see Triple H getting involved somehow in this match.
I
While we're
think
on the
that
topic of the title here, sorry to cut you off. I wanted to
no,
ask
no.
you. I know they've been having a lot of triple threats on SmackDown, not really too many on Raw. But how do you guys feel that Jericho did not make it into the title picture?
Upset. I think he
Yeah,
deserves something before he leaves because obviously he came out and said Fozzy got a new record deal, which means he's going to be gone a couple of months or so. I think they're looking. They are something they're looking about turning him face before it happens, so he can go out, a fan favorite. But I'm a little upset. I think from what he's been doing over the past, I think he was been 2 years now. Is his latest run. I mean, it's been over almost close to 2 years, which is awesome for
no,
him.
it
Yes,
hasn't
I
been
think it
that
has
long.
been.
No, he came back at like right in January, right, for the Royal Rumble.
I think he was back before that.
I don't think so, man.
You
But
sure?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it definitely wasn't that
Well,
long.
this is one of his
Maybe a
longest
year.
runs that he's had in a while, and I think they should have rewarded him by putting him in a title picture.
Yeah, I think he should have been in the match. I agree. But I guess like to Matt's point, what he's saying, they're going to move on from Rollins. So I think they left it as that. So this way, when Rollins loses, there's no, well, I didn't get pinned, I won another match type thing. Um, but I think that Jericho definitely should have been in the title picture. I really wanted him to win the title one more time too, but I know they're not going to do that now, especially if he's leaving. But we'll see if maybe they can convince him to stick around through at least WrestleMania. Maybe he does get a title run because I'd love to see Owens and Jericho in a one-on-one match for the title. So another match. Let's talk since we're talking about the title matches. I know we're not giving predictions yet or anything like that, but let's talk about Roman and Rusev. That's the third match inside the cell that was announced on Raw. Do you see this being, Roman and Rusev's final match, Matt? I know I'll start with you because I know Roman's your boy. That's your favorite. So do you see this being like him moving on from Rusev? Do you see this being a feud continuing through the end
This
of
is
the
it.
year?
This is it. It's going to move on. And if you want to book Roman right, have him use the cell, whatever he needs, and make him the ass kicker that he needs to be. He needs to be badass Roman. None of this. I'm gonna show up once every couple months, beat the crap out of someone, then I'm gonna go back to little old Roman that just does. He needs to use what he did at SummerSlam. Need to do that times 10 in this cage, which would be perfect for him. This is the type of match that Roman could actually excel in, and with how violent he's been outside of this. I mean, you saw what he did to Triple H. You saw what he did to Rusev at SummerSlam. They need him to be his badass Roman self. Whether it makes him a heel or not, I don't care. But he needs that Roman that just comes out, doesn't care who's in his way, and just starts beating the crap out of people. And this feud needs to end and plug in someone else.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Justin, what do you think?
I agree with Matt on that one. I think that Roman does need to come out and be ruthless in the match like he's been in the past, but we're going to, use the sell, make it more violent. This feud does need to come to an end. I think they're trying to push a little too hard, that they're trying to make him a face. Now, everyone at this point, I mean, there's people starting to come around and they're starting to like him a little bit more. I think he's better as a heel. Do I think he needs to have the title? I think I'd rather see the title with Rusev personally. But I think it's time for the feud between the two of them to come to an end. They've had some great matches, but Roman, I just don't think is really getting it done for the fans in the current situation.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that Rusev really, to me, I honestly got the short end of the stick here because he never even got really one credible win over Roman. It was kind of, he got disqualified or something happened, and this was him coming fresh off that suspension. I've told you time and time again how I feel about that he was rewarded with 2 title matches back to back. Coming off a suspension and then winning the title, not even, 3 months after. But that's neither here nor there. I think Roman's a good athlete, so I definitely think he's where he needs to be, but I don't think he needed to take the title from Rusev. I think they could have built him up a lot more beforehand. But I think that's it for Raw. Is there anything that... Oh, one last thing. Let's talk about the cruiserweights. What's been your overall... Justin, we haven't had you on the show since that's debuted. What's been your overall feeling on the cruiserweight division so far? Besides, obviously, I know we talked a little bit about people being added, but what about the guys that came up from the CWC, Perkins, guys like Kendrick, guys like that.
Mr. Dab himself.
Perkins, I'm not a fan of Perkins. I don't like him. I know he's got that heat backstage. That really doesn't have too much to do with it. It's kind of... I don't like his skills on the mic. I don't think he's a very well-rounded person. I think he's got good moves in the ring. I would like to see Kendrick take the title from him, but neither here nor there going to the rest of the cruiserweights. I really do like Rick Swann, Tony Nese, I think is going to be a good one to look out for. And I'm hoping that the cruiserweights are going to be just as good as they were back in the heyday when they had all the high flyers. And a lot of these guys are looking really good that have moved up from this cruiserweight classic. Hopefully they can sign some more instead of just moving down the talent they already have, because it seems like they're trying to open it up to the people they already have because they didn't get enough signed. That's a good thing that they're trying to build this division up again, but I would just like to see it come a little bit more outside talent than inside.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think? How do you feel about the cruiserweights?
I love it. I think they're great. I wish they would let them high fly a little bit more. I think I read something they want them to tone that down a little bit. I think what really kills the cruiserweight is that Ibushi didn't get signed, which I think he would actually have had the title personally if he had gotten signed. So I think that killed a little bit. But I think, like I said, with Neville and I think they said they're going to try to increase some weight even more for Sin Cara or whatever. And Sami Zayn, I think you're really going to see an awesome cruiserweight. Now, what I do want is more than just one match of cruiserweights on Raw. Can I have 2, maybe 3? I mean, come on now. You have an extra hour of Raw. Stop using an hour and a half of Raw for blah, 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 and I want to see more cruiserweights. That's the whole point of you having the cruiserweight division. You have that extra hour than SmackDown. I'm pretty sure that's what the point was. Utilize them. Don't just have a promo or one match. Let me see 2 or 3 matches on Raw, please. Thank you, WWE.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
I agree.
That's why SmackDown's still better.
We're talking about T.J. Perkins. Some people might know that T.J. Perkins came from TNA as Manic over there. Was it right? Manic was his name?
He was Suicide.
It was Suicide.
Started as Suicide, and they changed him to Manic.
Manic, okay. That's what he was most recently. So let's talk about TNA real quick. First off, we'll just do a quick thing of Bound for Glory. I think I could pretty much say a consensus here. The match of the night was the Decay versus the Broken
Can we go over the
Hardys.
fact that
Great
since
War.
you two
The Great
lived
War.
in
That was
Orlando,
it. Perfect.
that you knew everywhere they went outside of the
When I was
studios?
watching it, Justin and I were watching it, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, man, this has got to be taped because they were at the Orlando Eye at like 10:30 on a Sunday night. That place ain't that empty. I mean, that's I Drive, which is I know obviously some people aren't gonna know what we're talking about, but I Drive is a very big area, has a lot of restaurants, bars, mini golf, all kinds of different stuff up and down there. It's a big tourist attraction here, with everything that it has there. So when I was looking, I'm like, man, this is crazy. And then like even, like they're fighting out in front of the Universal sign, in front of where they do everything. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Jeff Hardy switching back and forth between, Hardy and Willow. Even the appearance of Janice, with
Janice,
Abyss.
you're looking hot tonight with
Yeah,
the fireballs.
It was great. The whole match was
Jeff Hardy
great, and
singing.
that is the one true. Like, there's other stuff, but that right there is the true highlight of TNA right now is the Broken Hardys, and the Decay too were great in that match. So I'm excited to see more of that. But I think that match was one of the best I was glad that I tuned in to watch Bound for Glory. That's how I don't even know the word I want to use here, but that's how much I liked that match. Was that match alone was good. They had some other good matches, on the card.
I thought the ending to the Lashley match was pretty good with that spear off the top turnbuckle. That was,
yeah.
I mean,
I liked it.
Lashley, he's really, from his time
Stepped
from
his game
WWE to
up.
TNA, he's improved tremendously, and he's a hell of an athlete now. And I think doing MMA also probably, factor into what he's doing now. But has he improved so much from his days in WWE?
Oh yeah, he was really good. He seems better and better over time.
Damien winning the title.
Yeah, Aaron Rex, no longer
So,
Damien.
Cody's
Cody's
Rhodes.
debut. Cody. His name isn't It's not Rhodes.
You know what? I don't care what WWE says. He's Cody Rhodes. I don't care what they say. They can't take that name. They cannot take the Rhodes name away from him. I don't care what they say.
Well, and the
Well,
way they announced it when he came out, because they kind of tried to get it in there by saying Cody and Brandy Rhodes.
That's
to
the only
include
way they can
that
do
way.
it.
Yeah.
Because technically speaking, his last name is Runnels. Rhodes is, so that's why the WWE's giving him such a hard time with that.
I think that's
But,
horrible
yeah.
of them, by the way. I think
Well,
it's completely disrespectful.
I don't like to speak on that because I don't know the true what behind the scenes is. My thing is, yeah, I would let him use it just because it's an homage, to his father, the late great Dusty Rhodes. So, it's a tough situation. But what did you get? Let's ask you, Justin, and you, both of you. I'll start with you. The Great War. How fantastic was it to you?
I thought it was a really awesome match, especially to me. I have not watched TNA in a few years now. After they got moved over to Destination and then Pop, I've not watched it since it's been changed on the channels. It was great for me to see the Hardys team up again, and I thought they put on a fantastic match against the Decay. It was different for me to see Abyss like that. I've not seen Abyss without his mask. And I thought they put on a phenomenal match. I like that they went out and they went through all those different areas, driving down I Drive, fighting in the back of a pickup truck, got a fan or, a placement fan involved in the match at that U-Haul truck. And then Jeff Hardy switching his gimmicks. I just thought it was a great match. I liked at the end that he got to do the swanton over the ladder into the tables, like the old school Jeff Hardy. And I just thought it was a fantastic match all the way around. I was very glad that I tuned in for Bound for Glory to see the Hardys.
Yeah, Matt.
Match of the night. I mean, what can you say more? Especially, I love the ending where Matt's like, give in to your demons, give in to your addiction, and then you see Jeff go right back to normal Jeff Hardy, and he does the swanton right on the table, the 1, 2, 3. Rebby doing a power bomb on Rosemary through a table. I thought that was great. That came out of nowhere. I mean, the pumpkin head on Rosemary from Jeff was. It was not only was it a hilarious match, it was a great match, and those 4 guys should be considered. I think PWI magazine does like a whole match of the year for every company, and that match should be considered. Them and all the final deletions. I mean, what Broken Matt Hardy is doing is amazing on how he's. I don't know where talking to Jared where he came up with the idea, which is great, and the fact that Jeff is doing great with it. They put the Hardys back together because let's face it, we're tired of them facing each other. They had to be brought back together somehow, and those two, when they're together, it's. It's lightning. Their chemistry is great. This whole gimmick is great. And like what Triple H said, man, he would love for that to come to WWE. And I'm sure a lot of fans would love to see a Broken and Brother Nero versus Wyatt family. I'm for one would love to see. Can you imagine a great war with the Wyatt family? That'd be great. Because you saw WWE tried to do the compound, didn't work out so well, did it?
Yeah, not at all. Speaking of that, it was announced. We won't go too far into it just because it is going to be so far ahead of time. But they announced that one of the Impact tapings, instead of taking place in the Impact Zone, is going to take place at the Hardys' house compound, whatever you want to call it,
Total
and it's going to be
non-deletion.
called Total Nonstop Deletion. How do you guys feel about that? I mean, we've
I think
seen,
it's
obviously,
awesome
like we just said, a whole show being taken, and it's not going to just be them. It's going to be other people,
because this is
in
where they did
matches.
their original promotions. There was a Hardy promotion. They did it in their backyards, in their driveways. They made their own ring, and you saw the ring they used during the first deletion. That's actually at Matt Hardy's house.
Well, I don't. One of the matches that really intrigued me and made me laugh. I don't know if you saw, but they said that Grotto would face Joe Frazier, the Kangaroo, in a match. Yeah,
That's great.
you know, to me that was very funny to me. As he said when he showed you his zoo, that he had that some of them had the spirit of other people in them.
George, I knew
Yep.
you'd come.
The giraffe was George Washington, exactly. So like that was funny to me, and like to see that's even being discussed. It just adds to more of why this is such a unique thing. And Matt Hardy's really trying to revitalize TNA as much as he can, you know. And it's not someone you would really expect it from because, no offense to Matt Hardy, but he's not a young guy anymore. He's not someone that's going to carry a company, you would think, at his age.
He's
But
someone
he's
that
really
could
doing what he
run
can.
a company. He would be, WWE, when his contract's done with TNA, WWE needs to jump on him I think he'd be great for creative. For Raw
Yeah.
or SmackDown, he'd be a
I
great creative writer.
I think he still wants. I think he's going to come back to WWE
I think him
again
and
and
Jeff
have
both,
one
they
last
wanna
run.
come back.
I think they want to come back separate, though. That's the thing. I don't think they want to come back as a team for the whole time. They might start as a team and then kind of
But
move
don't
on.
put them against each other. Make them be like, hey, look, man, made them be like, hey, look, man, we've had great runs. Give them one more tag title run. Let them lose it. Let them be like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
We did what we wanted
kind
to
of
do as a team. Let them go out.
exactly a mutual thing where they're like, hey, we're going to move on from each other. Let's go do this and both win titles, on our own or something like that. So,
And then when they do it, take it like they did back in the day. Put them on separate brands again.
yeah, absolutely.
But don't have them come back and face each other. That's what I was scared
No.
of the Dudleys. I was like, crap, Bully's gonna do, Bubba's gonna do something. They kept them together, which was great. Do the same with the Hardys, and then just have them, hey, look, I'm gonna go do my own thing. Just like how Edge and Christian were when Christian came back the second time. How even though Edge was the heel, they still had their interactions in the back, but they never really fought each other. It was more like, hey. I think when Christian won the ECW championship, I think Edge was back there in his heel phase. It was more, they were against each other facing heel, but they still showed respect to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Some other matches just to talk real quick, another minute or two on it. Obviously, you had the Bound for Gold match, which, man, his name is slipping me right now. Eli Drake won, which gives him a world title match. Gail Kim won against Maria to become the champion again. She was also inducted to the Hall of Fame. If people don't know, she was in WWE before as well, but she really made her stamp on TNA in the women's division, the Knockouts division, I should call it. So that was very well, earned for her to be the first woman inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. And what was another? Aaron Rex became the first, like you said, he became the first grand champion. Real quick, spend 30 seconds each. What's your take, Justin? I'll start with you on that concept of that new title.
I thought it was a good concept that they're trying to bring it in and make it more of a new title. Especially, I feel like they're kind of taking that, making it an homage to all these wrestlers that are also going into mixed martial arts, trying to kind of bring them around. I thought it was a good match overall, and I think that it was a very good. It was a good attempt. I don't know if they'll keep it around long, but it was a good attempt for a new match.
Fair enough. Matt?
Oh, it was great. It was cool to have. It's almost like the equivalent to the Intercontinental Championship for WWE. I think it's a great title to have. I hope they keep it around. So, yeah, I think TNA. I think even though there's having some issues with being sued, Ditsy Carter, all that thing. I think if Billy Corgan can finally get a hold of it and make it his, I think TNA. There's no way they'll ever compete with WWE. It's not going to happen. Lucha. None of these Ring of Honor, none of these guys will ever get to WWE status. But I think with the right management, TNA can turn itself around. Like, can you imagine if you have Corgan and Hardy, let's say, working together on creative? Could be an awesome combo to have. But they got to get their financial issues in order, and Corgan's got to get this company his. I don't know what he has to do, but he's got to get it to him. Because I'm sorry, Ditsy, you ran it to the ground.
Going
Yeah.
along those lines of what you just said with Hardy and Corgan, there was a tweet from Matt Hardy where he was saying in character, he said, "Let me buy the company and I will delete the name and start anew." So, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if that's any indication of maybe he would want to stick around if the company gets bought. Maybe he would want to be on creative, or maybe he really would have interest in buying the company. We don't know, but I mean, I just think that was interesting that he put that out there.
Yeah, I think it's really tough because of how much they're saying they're in debt. And now not only that, but they're saying the state of Tennessee could own it if they don't pay them back. So I think that kind of scares people from buying the company outright, which is why I think they really, if they're in that much of, money issues, I think they really should have took as much as, I don't want to see TNA go out. They should have took Vince's offer because he would have given them the money just to buy the library, and at least that would have got them out of the debt. And then Corgan could have started over and been like, hey, whoever, now the TNA is over, I'm going to start something new. Who's in, and he doesn't have to take on that debt that he'd have to take on by buying the company. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. I agree with Matt. I think Corgan and to you, Justin, I think Corgan and Matt Hardy would be huge. I think Corgan has a very big passion for the business, which is what you need. I don't think Dixie Carter necessarily has that passion. I think that she has business in mind, but she doesn't you have to know the wrestling business. There's a difference between just knowing a business and then knowing wrestling business. And that's where this really comes down to. She doesn't know it, and that's why it's where it's at. They brought in people, they had the money at first, and you saw with
You know
WCW
what? You
too.
know what Dixie should have done? She should have did what Ted Turner did when he had WCW. Is Turner owned it, but Bischoff ran the company, and that's what Dixie should have did. She should have just owned the company and had someone else like a Bischoff run the company, and that's where I think it went downhill. Was she tried to do everything, and she should have learned from what like almost what Ted Turner did, where he may have owned it, but someone else ran the company for him.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing, is that's what I'm saying. Money, at the end of the day, the money's only going to get you so far, because that's, like I said, that's a business sense. It's not a wrestling business sense. She didn't really know the wrestling business. That's why, as much as TNA wasn't a huge thing with Jeff Jarrett, that was some of its best times, was when Jeff Jarrett was in charge, because him and his father knew the wrestling business for so long, for decades. And during that heyday, we talked about it, that mid 2000s, they were white hot, man, with Kurt Angle, Christian Cage, Sting, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, all these guys. And, the first three I named, obviously, joined TNA. They weren't there from day one. So they kind of just lost what the momentum they had. And that's why a lot of them are leaving, because they're just not, they weren't feeling it anymore. So, yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that in the coming weeks as we keep getting more and more information on what's exactly going to happen. But I really do hope for a lot of those guys in the locker room that there is some kind of, secondary thing that starts, even if it's not TNA's name, it's a new name, because a lot of these guys won't have a job, and it'll be really, heartbreaking to see for those guys, because a lot of them are well deserving of being, on a roster somewhere for wrestling. But yeah, you guys have anything else you want to add on that before we move on?
James Ellsworth.
Yeah, let's go to SmackDown. First off, obviously
Yeah, ring the bell for James Ellsworth.
we didn't get to talk about No Mercy, but AJ Styles retained, and the first time ever a main event for the world title started off No Mercy. First off, Justin, how did you feel about seeing the main event start a pay-per-view?
I thought it was a great way to start the pay-per-view so that people could keep the interest. And to me, I felt more like I was inclined to want to watch the rest of the show after that, even though there was those other popular things going on trying to take the attention from the pay-per-view. I thought it was a good start, and it led to what I thought maybe would have potentially been a better pay-per-view, because you saw what set the bar, and you would think the pay-per-view would go the rest of it. I think it was a great pay-per-view overall. It was a welcome change to see the world title go up first and leave other main events for like Ziggler and The Miz, for example.
And once again, John Cena helped steal the show. Huh. All these you can't wrestle chants. God, it still blows my mind why people still say, you suck, you can't wrestle. Like, are you blind? Are you like Stevie Wonder over there or something? You can't see the kind of matches this guy has put on the past couple of
In all fairness, you can't see John Cena, so
Okay, Rocky, whatever. He dresses up like Fruity Pebbles, but that's beside the point.
it is besides the point. But
It's a great
I think it
match.
was a great, like you said, it was a great welcoming addition.
I didn't like. I guess the ending it shows that Cena didn't get pinned, I guess legitimately, which shouldn't matter because AJ's already done that once.
Yeah,
But I mean, it was
twice.
a good ending. Cena's. Yeah, I think it's a good way for Cena because I think he's got to walk away just for a little bit. I think he's doing his own.
He's doing the
Um,
True Grit show again.
yeah, but
Yeah,
they said they have him on for Survivor
American Grit.
Series. Who
Sorry.
knows? But I think it was a great match. I was hoping they'd move on from AJ with Dean and everything. I thought that would be in the past, but I think it looks like we may get one more of them. But I mean, AJ's got to worry about James Ellsworth right now, which is in the back of his mind.
Yeah. Before we move to James Ellsworth, just a couple more matches I want to talk about. Obviously, it was a shame to see that we couldn't get the Becky Lynch match. Obviously, that is going to take place
That was
November 8th.
stupid
They
by the way,
announced
what they did with the
that
Lesnar
she was
split.
injured.
That
But
was
why
ridiculous.
have her lose to Naomi?
Why?
I don't.
She
I
just
didn't
she
understand
just
that.
won a number one contendership, and you have her lose. So basically, you're just saying, oh, she would have lost to Becky too. That
Yeah.
that shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't
Yeah,
have.
I didn't understand that, and now they were saying, oh, well, maybe we'll make it a triple threat, but she'd already earned that right to be the number one contender, so I don't agree with that. A big high point for me of that was Rhino and Slater kept the tag team titles.
Thank
I,
God. Was
a
anyone
lot of
else
people
afraid?
thought dude, a lot of people, and I know we had talked about it, that we thought it was gonna be a one and done kind of thing. They were gonna win it just to kind of give Slater his contract and then they move on, but they really surprised me. Justin, how do you feel about
And
Rhino and
more,
Slater?
baby.
I'm very excited for Rhino and Slater because, again, this is another thing like what we were talking about with Sheamus and Cesaro, that it's the strange bedfellows teaming up. But I think this can be more successful. Everyone's getting behind Slater. He's been the one guy that was from the Nexus that's come up, and he's still constantly been around doing team after team, and he's still here. And everybody loves him now. With the whole "I got kids" thing and getting his contract, and
Yeah.
Rhino was a great addition to come back up to the main roster because he was on NXT for a while, and I think they really found a place for the both of them, and I hope they keep the titles for at least a couple months.
Does
Yeah,
Slater have
I
more
agree.
kids than Cromartie?
He's got 27 kids.
Yeah,
He
he's
has
got
more.
27.
He has more
needs.
kids than
I got
Cromartie.
kids, and he needs money. I
I
need
didn't think
this
that was
job.
possible.
He's got to upgrade from a double to a triple wide,
That's it.
and he's got to keep buying Rhino crackers. They got to keep the title.
The one thing too, I wanted to. Obviously, let's talk about the match that was the main event before the one that I think should have been the main event, and that was Wyatt and Orton. Pretty predictable. Once once the lights went out, we knew it was going to be Harper. I think everyone was on that kind of boat with that. But I do like that they kind of threw everyone off because they had Harper showing up at every Raw house show. It was going to be Harper was signing to Raw, and then Harper shows up at No Mercy, and now he signed to SmackDown. So I think that's a huge addition to the SmackDown roster. With
Well,
obviously
they
they
said
lost
they
Del
did it
Rio.
last second because of what happened to Rowan.
Either way, I think that was good. So I think it was a good addition. But
But that was a hell of a match. Until
yeah, it was a good match. Yeah,
it was great. Orton puts on 5-star matches week in and week out. He's the best technical wrestler I think they have in terms of the crisp of the moves he does.
he just looks smooth. Exactly,
Yeah,
it
he
looks
just
effortless.
moves. Wyatt looked amazing like always. No matter what you put Wyatt with, he does amazing. And can we just celebrate that Wyatt won at a pay-per-view in the main event? I mean,
I know, right? That's something we have to exactly for the first time. We got to be happy about that. Justin, how do you feel about Bray Wyatt?
I like him I think he's got a great character. Like I said, this is another guy that I've been more recently introduced to. I think he's great. I think the Wyatt family is great. That actually brings me to a question for you guys. Do you think that because remember a couple weeks ago, maybe a month and a half ago, they had Rowan drop his mask, and we all thought that the family was going to go away. And now that Luke Harper's back, and they kind of brought Rowan back in that time when Randy had the injury, they were trying to sell it. Do you think that the Wyatt family is coming back and that they're going to make another impact as a stable?
Rowan's out injured right now, so obviously that's going to have to be put on the back burner. I think that's going to be at least they were saying a couple months before he gets back. So I don't think that I just like it, to be honest. I don't want the Wyatt. I think Wyatt needs to be on his own. So I don't even know how I feel about Harper being with him again, unless they're just going to have each of them going for singles titles. But I don't want this being that the two of them are tag team together. But if that means getting them gold, I guess so, because he still has not gotten any title yet.
It's ridiculous.
On the main roster. So, yeah, we'll see how that pans out. One last match to talk about before we move on to SmackDown's the main event at SmackDown this week. Ziggler and Miz. We all thought Ziggler was losing. We thought, all right, this is his way of going out.
and they were saying on every website this was it.
They threw everything at him.
And there's a
Ziggler finally
curveball.
got a win, got that, career win that he needed.
And tribute to Eddie Guerrero in the process.
Yep, by having the boot get, and Ziggler won. And I think that match was the match of the night. And I think it should have been the main event. Nothing against Wyatt or Orton or even the main event at the beginning, but I think that match really was that good. Ziggler proved why he says stealing the show. That was an awesome match. And don't only take hats off to Ziggler, but take hats off to The Miz, because I think The Miz he does not get enough credit for what he does.
He's the best heel in the game right now.
I think The Miz should be elevated to the main event. I might catch heat for that,
No,
with
I
people,
agree with
but
you.
I think he should be. I think he should be in the world title picture. I could really see him, contending for the world title in the next 6 months.
I think it's because when he was a champion, when he had the Money in the Bank, everything, he won all his matches by nothing spectacular, DQs, countouts, WrestleMania. The Rock did everything for him. I think that's what killed him before, is that he wasn't getting the wins clean, like almost what Seth was doing his first run. I mean, he was winning all these matches by someone else interfering, whether it was authority or something else. I think WWE needs to realize that really hurts people. But Seth is such a star because the Shield didn't matter for much. But for someone like The Miz, I think it did matter because you had Alex Riley interfering. The Rock at WrestleMania kind of when The Miz finally had a chance to main event WrestleMania, it became all about The Rock, which I think was horrible for The Miz at that point. But I would love to see The Miz back in another title picture without Marisa. Okay, she's good as a manager. Stop having her interfere. Let The Miz win something. I want to see. I want a clean win. I don't want none of these hairsprays or anything like that, which is ridiculously and dumb out, by the way. But have him win clean.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did he do against Apollo? He beat Apollo clean in like 2 minutes.
Justin, real quick on that, what do you feel about the two of them, Ziggler and Miz?
I was very surprised, like you guys said, that Ziggler did win, especially because going back, there was a rap sheet about a year ago saying his contract was coming up and he didn't want to re-sign. So that was another thing why I was kind of thinking, maybe this is it. I thought that was really going to be the end of it, especially with the interference, like you said, from Maurice. Then they had the Spirit Squad come out, and I was very surprised to see him win. I think that The Miz, I wish they would have had another way that they would have kept Ziggler around. I personally think Miz should still have the title, but I thought it was a very great match overall. And like you said, I would like to see Miz move up in the title scene. I don't know if I'd particularly see him with matches with AJ, but I think he does need to be in the world title picture.
Yeah, I think if AJ loses to a face, I could see Miz being the next heel. It's like I said, 6 months from now, not anytime soon. But
we could do another Miz and Cena, except now they're better, and Cena could be trying to go for his 16-time world title.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against that either. Let's talk about SmackDown real quick. Obviously, the big match that everyone is talking about, and I can't believe we're seeing it. This guy was on Raw.
One thing about No Mercy. Do you love the time frame that they do? They don't go all the way to 3 hours.
Yeah, I don't think you need to. And they did Talking Smack after. I really like that. I like how they did Talking Smack after. That was the full 3 hours. Was that? I think that was great. So, I hope they continue to do shows like that. There's no need for it to be a full 3 hours just to fill time if you don't need the time. Have the quality of matches.
Both as a show and with their pay-per-views, that less is definitely more.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with you.
All right, now we can go to SmackDown. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's talk about that. This guy comes on Raw first. Braun Strowman's first match against James Ellsworth. Everyone's like, oh god, and he's out there. Anyone who has 2 fists, has a fighting chance. This guy's now going to be on SmackDown in the main event for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship after winning last week against AJ with Ambrose as the special guest referee.
It proves anything can happen.
We want to talk about
dreams.
You got to talk about Ellsworth, but what about the fighting spirit of AJ Styles? The Bushido.
I mean, you got to think he's a humble champion. To bring him back out, especially after he got jumped, he was supposed to be his tag team partner, and he brings him out and says, "I'm going to give you a match, and it's going to be a non-title match." James Ellsworth is just so excited. Now, of course, Dean got in there a little bit, but if you saw, Ellsworth got some pretty good shots on him with those punches outside of running around the ring. I'm an Ellsworth fan, man. I like him. 2 fists, you got a fighting chance. That's Ellsworth 316.
Do you see Ellsworth winning this, and then they give AJ the title back like next week at all? Do you see him maybe getting a close 2 count?
I see him. It would be a long shot, but I think it could happen. He wins the title at the beginning of the night, and by the end of the night, AJ has the title back.
I could see that happening. I think Ambrose will get involved somehow, hit him with something, and then the referee will be knocked out, and then he counts. The referee gets back in the ring, and he gets like that really close 2 count, and then AJ ends up finishing the match like that. But
I
You
gotta
think
say
Ellsworth's
this.
winning?
I gotta say this.
Okay.
If Ellsworth wins, he'll have more. He'll have a longer WWE title reign than the likes of Cesaro, Rusev, Sami Zayn, and just countless other superstars. He'll have a longer title reign. He'll have a longer title reign than Bray Wyatt. I mean, come on now.
He'll have more title reigns than all of them. Never mind a longer title
Combined.
reign. None of them ever even won the title.
You have title shots. Rusev, he's never
Yeah.
been in the main
Rusev's
event
never even
picture.
in a world title shot.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? So that's crazy to me. But what else is there to touch? Is there anything else we're missing? Well, yeah, like we said, I'm really excited to see where they go because obviously Ziggler and Miz are going to have one more match for the Intercon. They're going to have a rematch at some point. But where they go from there, even with Ziggler, who's his next opponent going to be? Is Corbin maybe going to get in the mix now with Ziggler? That'll be a kind of cool match to see him be in that mid-card feud. Of course, like you said, we have Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch to look forward to in November for the SmackDown Women's title. So a lot of good things over on SmackDown. But, I mean, Justin, real quick on that, SmackDown better than Raw to you?
Absolutely, 100%.
Every week, basically. I mean, this
Every
might be the
single
one week I've kind of scored it back and forth. I think this might be the week that Raw could win. But, because of
Only because
Goldberg's
of
return. But
Goldberg.
then you think about it, SmackDown's got Ellsworth versus Styles, who a lot of people are going to want to see. So it's a tough sell for me. But I really like SmackDown more than Raw. Matt, you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, Raw already won for me this week just because they said Goldberg's gonna be on. Sorry.
Well,
Like I said,
hold
I
on,
love
man. You
Goldberg.
got Ellsworth and Styles still. We got to see how that match plays out.
Sorry, Goldberg.
You gotta remember too. This is Raw we're talking about. So
Yeah, exactly. You could see Goldberg might be out there for a minute, spear
You know,
someone,
it
grab
wouldn't
a mic,
surprise
you're
me if
next,
it
and
was
walk
only
away.
just for
You
a
know what I mean?
minute.
It's like, come on.
They should
So-
open with now. What would really get me going? If they have him come out with the police officers. That'd be awesome.
Well, they better knock on the door. to bring him
Fanboy
out.
right here.
Oh yeah.
I want that's what I want.
does
Yeah,
Paul
I
Heyman
think-
get speared tonight? That's the question.
Yes, I hope so.
Oh, not again. Well, I've seen it happen before.
Let me
It
get
was
I
not
don't know.
pretty last time.
Let Triple
No,
H
it
get
wasn't.
speared. Let him just go.
Maybe Lesnar's there. What if Lesnar surprises everyone and he's actually there and he comes out when he thinks he's about to spear him and Lesnar gets the upper hand?
Could be-
That would be a way to bring Goldberg back because I've seen they announced already too that Goldberg will also be there next week.
I think next week is when Lesnar's supposed to be back to Minneapolis
Well,
this week.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but I know they said Goldberg has been confirmed to be there next Monday too. So we'll see how that works out.
Also for SmackDown, any fans that are watching that live in my area of DC, tickets just went on sale for the Tribute to the Troops special at the Verizon Center. I think it's the second week of December 12th or whatever. So Paul, if you're looking, maybe we can go take your son who's been interested in going. I think like 45 a ticket. You can get almost down below, but it's kind of cool that they've actually opened up this Tribute to the Troops to the public this year that they can get tickets. I think probably the bottom area is reserved for the troops. But anyone who's in the DC area that you want to go and watch, this is probably one of the best episodes to probably go and watch.
Nice.
So that's the thing out there. That's on sale now. So anyone who's in the DC area, Tribute to the Troops is coming to Washington, D.C. December 12th. Tickets are on sale at Ticketmaster, and I just sounded like a promotion guy there.
No, it truly is a great thing that they do every year. That Tribute to the Troops is a great thing they do for our troops, and it is a great show, like you said, every year. So definitely something to think about. And before I close it out, Paul, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Thanks everybody for watching on the YouTubes, on Facebook. Be sure to give us a like or a follow on Facebook. Give us a like, subscribe on YouTube if you can. Follow us on Twitter, which is at OT3 Podcast 1. And Facebook, it's /Off The Top Turnbuckle. And you can shoot us emails if you like. That's old school way nowadays, but that's ot3podcast@gmail.com. And that's pretty much it. But I got it at least.
All right. Well, a couple of announcements real quick. Of course, tomorrow we will have the Shipe Sports Talk. Yes?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Paul, Wednesday?
Nope, not from me.
No? Okay. So no crazy talk again this week. We will keep you posted with that as usual. Definitely tune in tomorrow to Shipe Sports Talk. I know Matt has something he really would like to get off his chest about something. I'll let you guys just see what that is tomorrow. But yeah, before we go again and I close out, I want to say a special thanks to my good friend Justin here for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure having you on the show. We will definitely need to get you back on.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Real quick before you go, as you guys can see right there next to his name, underneath his picture, he has @Relic630. That's not only his Twitter name, but that's also his YouTube channel. So, Justin, if you don't mind, just let some of the viewers know a little bit about your YouTube channel, what kind of content you're going to have on there.
Yeah, just a quick little thing going through. I'm just starting it up. I'm trying to go ahead and, just get some games going on there. Everybody likes playing games. I like talking about tech news. That's the kind of stuff. So right now, what we got up there is some Gears of War 4. Anthony and I are doing a playthrough on the campaign. I got more things coming up, like Mafia 3 is coming up. Anything that's going to be recent. That's basically what I'm trying to do. Just get everything out there, get some reviews up, and just, talk about what we like to do here and what I like to do. So that's pretty much what the channel's about. Just talking about my interest and playing some games.
Excellent.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you.
Well, again, from all of us here at OT3, we say thank you for you to joining us tonight, and to all of our viewers, from myself, Matt, our awesome producer Paul, special guest Justin. We appreciate you watching episode 24, and we'll see you next week for episode 25 of OT3. You guys have a good night. Enjoy Raw, and let's see Goldberg return. Have a
You're
great night,
next.
guys.
See ya.
Double down. Bam.
Delete.